Good morning. My name is Heather Fisher, Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. I bring this meeting to order. It is 8 o'clock. First item on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes from April 19th, 2022.
I'll move approval.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. All right, motion approved. The second item on the agenda is the review of Historic Overlay District in the Chazay Roberts Historic Overlay of 811 9th Street South.
Morning, Commissioners. The subject property is 811 9th Street South in the Chazay Roberts Historic Overlay District. You can see 9th Street South running on the east of the property, 8th Avenue South, 9th Avenue South. The applicant is proposing exterior renovations and adding an awning. And due to the change in materials and the new awning, we are bringing this application forward to the Historic Preservation Commission to review. Here's some site photos with the subject property in the middle, with existing vinyl on the top and then stonework on the bottom of the front facade. And here's some laydown items that weren't originally in the packet, but they just show the existing conditions of the stonework for these images, and then the front steps as well. The proposed elevation and section drawings here shows vinyl lap siding replaced with fiber cement lap siding on the top. And then on the bottom, the stonework is going to be replaced with fiber cement board and batten. And then the steps will be rebuilt, demoed and rebuilt with composite decking. There was a previous awning existing on the house up to 2007, just based on Google Street View. And that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? I'll start. So right now, is it the top and the bottom of the lap siding, is that 8-inch for both of them?
The top is 12-inch right now. Along the whole house, it's all fiber cement currently. The top is 12-inch and then the bottom's 8-inch. So
Is that current, are you saying, or that's the proposed?
that's current. Yeah, at some point it was renovated, I would assume, just on the bottom half.
Okay.
The top half appears to be older.
Are you referring to the proposal?
On the
proposal.
Oh,
It's
sure. That would all be 8-inch.
the 8-inch, okay. Was there a reason you chose 8-inch?
The majority of all the other sides are 8-inch. We
Okay.
plan on eventually replacing the rest of the siding, but for now it matches the current to the best.
Gotcha. Glad I asked. Then maybe it's an easier recommendation
Sure.
so right now this house is 1897. Obviously, this is an original material. So I wouldn't feel compelled to have to match that 8-inch or the 12-inch even on top. If you look at the house, I believe it's probably to the north.
Yep.
Or it's the lap siding is maybe 3-4 inches tops. I would recommend a smaller profile of lap siding instead of the larger 8-inch, which typically, comes into later of the 21st century. So I would recommend a smaller profile,
Okay.
maybe 4 to 6 max.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree.
We have two images of the proposal, one where the lower siding is vertical and the other where it's horizontal. Which is correct?
The lower siding would be like a board and batten with vertical. Is that your question?
Yes, vertical.
Yep.
Was the vertical to horizontal in kind of a callback to what's existing right now, just to contrast? Because right now there's a huge contrast.
Not necessarily. The and the current brick veneer is in pretty poor shape. And there's just a few properties in the neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods that have board and batten. I think it's a fresh look to it, I guess. Pretty classy.
Excuse me, if I could just, sorry, to the applicant, could you just speak into the mic so we
Sure.
can pick up? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I may just make a recommendation. I think I commend you for taking on this, we'll say, an eclectic style that's not necessarily historic with this property, and trying to make an improvement on it, definitely. And I would just use, just because we have a little bit of context, if we look at, there's an image where there's a house to the south and then north, that one, yep, on the top image. Obviously, we're dealing with stucco on the south, and then the north, that lap siding. So even on that north side one, where they have just that horizontal thin profile, I may just recommend keeping with that horizontal look as opposed to a vertical. Typically, that would be very historic in terms of the vertical application, but keeping it horizontal. But and even looking at the profile of that transition piece a bit more, I think it'll lend itself actually pretty well to paying homage, I guess, to the neighbor to the north, which is probably historically pretty accurate of that time period.
Sure.
Your front facade is shown as the board and batten. You had previously said that you're looking to replace the rest of it around the house as well. Would your intention to be to return that around the corners or just on the face of it?
Yeah, just on the face.
I think there should, be some consideration to be made to, the other three sides of the house. I know we're commenting on the front facade right now, but I mean, to Heather's point, if you do go to a smaller profile, that's, probably more material. If you wrap that around, if you wrap that sort of headband around all four sides and just keep the lap up high and run the board and batten all the way around, I think it sets it up well to kind of, do little by little.
Sure.
But also just the continuity, because I think there needs to be a consideration to be made about changing materials on the outside corner. Excuse me. And I think it's set up to do that, so I think it might be a wash from a cost perspective,
Sure.
and it would look better.
I think that's a consideration the board probably should consider in the long run too, is as much as we have recommendations for historic value, it's also a real value today to the owner's cost. So by telling them that they have to do a certain profile, which would increase their overall budget cost, I have a budget every day I have to stick with. So if this is a budget issue, I think we need to be cognizant of not pushing more cost on them. The board and batten is a cost saver because they don't have to increase the material cost for the lap. So I think that's just a thought that we all have to hold in our mind as well.
I would follow up by saying there's a larger issue here that really we can't solve today, and that is that the city has established these historic overlay districts with the idea of retaining and supporting historic character. In a house like yours that has been changed so much over the years, to begin to recapture some of the actual historic integrity of the house would be very expensive. And yet there is no financial incentive for anybody to do that. And so the cost is entirely on you, which I think is very unfortunate, which is not your fault. It's a criticism of the city's policy. So I would agree it's very difficult to ask you to do more than you wish to do. I think for me, the threshold would be don't remove more, how shall we say, don't don't estrange the house more from whatever it was. At least retain a level of integrity that it now has, and I think your proposal does that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that, I mean, originally there wouldn't have been vertical board and batten on this, and it would have had a smaller profile, but the image that you're showing us here is a lot more in keeping with the character of the neighborhood than the 1950s fake stone and the thin, narrow profiles around the windows, things like that. So it's, I mean, we're not doing a complete restoration down to like historic photographs, but this is very much more in keeping with the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you. And if I may add too, like this is a rental property that my wife and I bought, so we live in the top unit, and that's pretty valid. I mean, I love the neighborhood. I went to Hawthorne growing up in Clare Barton. I want to add to the neighborhood, but at the same time, the budget on a rental property is limited. So to the design, that definitely plays a role. There's more that I would like to do. I'm trying to play on both sides to be cost efficient and still adding to the neighborhood.
Have you priced out the project with other materials?
Bits and pieces, not exactly fully.
Okay. I mean, there's a way to kind of use seamless steel with a narrow profile really well and elegantly. And I'd be curious to know if that cost would be less than a fiber cement or composite. So maybe just something to look at. You can still add trim around the windows, but the overall appearance of the house with the tighter lap siding might be a little bit more appropriate.
Okay.
And if you save money, that's great.
Yeah, I think that's maybe somewhat of a misconception, or even that, someone on the historic overlay would mention, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But I think that's a good recommendation. At least take a look at that. It could actually make a big difference.
You don't have to paint it. It's a durable, long-lasting, low-maintenance material,
Okay.
and it has a great appearance, or can.
Thank you. Any other comments? Questions? Is there a motion?
I will move approval with the request that the applicant consider a narrower profile of the lap siding.
Sure.
I would second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Those opposed? Same sign? All right, motion is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, any other business? No? All right. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting is going to be June 21st, 2022. Thank you.